Hey y'all, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I know this might come as a shock to some of you, but I am not a very organized person. As much as I love a good color-coded system and things in pretty tubs with pretty labels like you can see in these math tubs up here at the top of my shelf, or my guided math units organized right there in those blue tubs. As much as I love all of that, I'm really bad at keeping up with it. Like, I'm actually pretty type B when it comes to a lot of aspects in my life. But I quickly learned that in the classroom, when it came to teaching small group instruction, that my type B tendencies were not the best. I would sit down at my small group table and my sticky note system and piles of papers were not working. I would sit down to work with a group of kids, and then I would be like, where's my lesson plans? What am I supposed to be teaching these kids? I can't find my notes anywhere. And I learned that those type B tendencies were not going to work when it came to small group instruction because I was not prepared. Or at least I didn't feel like I was prepared. And because I was wasting a couple of minutes after seeing each group, looking for my materials, my notes, my lesson plans, and all the things, I was wasting valuable instruction time. So I had to come up with a system that works for me, that keeps all of my small group materials that I need, such as lesson plans, notes, and all the things, I needed them in one centralized location. And that is where my guided math binder came into play and became my saving grace when it comes to small group instruction. Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Marcy Bernithi, and I am the teacher author behind SaddleUpForSecondGrade.com. And each week I release a new video that shares tips, tricks, and strategies for helping teachers and students fall in love with math all over again. Today, we're going to be talking about my guided math binder. What is a guided math binder? Why do you need one? And what do you keep inside? So let's get started. So first things first, I always tell teachers to grab a 2-inch binder whenever it comes to setting up and creating their guided math binder. Why 2 inches? Because throughout the year, you are going to be adding more lesson plans and notes and more pieces of paper. And so you want to give yourself plenty of room to grow throughout the school year. What I love about this resource is that it correlates with my guided math rotation board. So here in a minute, when we take a peek inside, you are going to see how my students are grouped. I always named my guided math groups based on animals, just simply because that is what second graders like and that's what they enjoy. So inside you're going to see how it correlates with my guided math rotation board. And inside there is a section for my lesson plans, student notes, observations, and so much more. All of my data is in one centralized location. Do you want to take a peek inside? Let's go. As we dive in and take a look at what's inside my guided math binder, you are going to notice that it is divided up into sections. Now, the way that I show you, I just want you to know that this is how I set it up to use in my classroom. You do not have to include every single section. Maybe you want to put the sections in a different order. Just know that it's completely customizable to meet the needs of your classroom and your students. Inside my guided math binder, you will find organization tabs. These are provided inside the download in my TPT store or in my website store. What I did was I just took some plain binder dividers. I glued the cover page onto the front, and then I glued the label onto the tab. The first section that I am going to show you is my guided math groups. In this section, I include different organizers for grouping my students, and a template is provided with 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, and even all the way up to 6 groups. What I like to do is use small sticky note flags to write student names. The reason why I do this is because your guided math groups need to be changed up frequently. So typically they're changed whenever you start a new unit. And so by writing them on tabs, it allows me to easily move student names around without having to print off multiple sheets of paper. Then over here on the left-hand side, I write the name of each of my student groups. So I mentioned earlier that this correlates with my guided math rotation board, which my student groups are named by animals. So I wrote my tigers, gorillas, monkeys, pandas, lions. So I just write the student group there. You could write group 1, group 2, group 3, whichever works best for you and your classroom. And so then this just allows me to keep my groups organized and flexible. The next section I'm going to show you is student observations. This is where I keep all of my data and blank note templates. So whenever I'm taking notes with my guided math groups, I like to kind of jot down maybe what the student did. Maybe I'll record a strength or a weakness. And then I like to write down a couple of things about what I should do next time to help benefit that student. So I use these half-page sheets, but sometimes I like to use a full-size sheet as well. And then this is where I also like to keep my conference information sheets where I'll record student strengths, concerns, and other notes. And then I organize these by student based on the group that they are in. And it keeps everything in one location for when it comes time to have parent conferences. The next section is all about student planning. Inside my planning session, this is where I keep all of my lesson plan templates as well as month at a glance. Probably one of my favorite things about my binder is this is where I keep my station planning page. And what I love about this is that it allows me to see what activities I did during math stations year after year. Because once I started doing this for a while, April might roll around and I'm like, oh, what activities did I use last April? Did they work? Did they not work? And so I started planning them out. And so I would write down what I was going to do, what activity I did for Station 1, Station 2, Station 3, and what I did for technology. And I mapped this out for all the weeks of that month. So then when the following year rolled around, I had this page to look back on to see, okay, what do I want to keep and what do I want to change? So this is where I kept my station planning page and as well as the templates for that. In this section, I also include month at a glance pages and week at a glance pages, and I have multiple templates for each option just because every teacher is different and they like different things. So I have a plain month at a glance page where there is a box for each month. This is going to be where I might just write down what concepts or skills I'm going to focus on in January, February, and so forth. I also have a week at a glance page where I can jot down specific notes or ideas or concepts that I want to cover on different days. I also have month at a glance pages where I can write down more detailed information based on days of the week. I might write down my goals that I want to accomplish that month, to-do list, notes and ideas, and more. So I have a generic option included. Then there is a month at a glance page for the topics that I'm going to cover. So maybe any new skill or concept that's being introduced that month, I'm going to write that here. Any topics that I need to review in small groups, I'll write here. And then I'll just write some generic notes for each week. And then I also have templates already filled out for each month of the year. The next section that I'm going to include is my lesson plans. So behind this section, I keep multiple blank copies of my lesson plan template. You guys, I keep my small group lessons very short and sweet. I need something that I can just quickly glance over at. I am not looking for a long, drawn out, like 5E lesson plan template when it comes to small groups. So what I do is I write my group name at the top, maybe the dates that are being covered, concept and standards that are being taught. Then I have a section for each day of the week. Then I'm going to write down what am I going to do for my small group warm-up, what's going to be my focus activity, and how am I going to close that out. So I simply just write down maybe what activity I'm doing. This little squiggle right here meant that I was not doing small groups that day. And then I also have one that's slightly more detailed that looks like this, where I can write my groups over here on the side. Then I am going to identify the teaching point, and then what activity am I going to do for active engagement. Then I have a section for student data. Behind here, I've got standards checklists, so I left it pretty blank and generic just so that it can be repurposed for multiple things. So I might write the standard that's being taught. So let's say it's place value. You can write student names. I actually prefer to use student numbers down the side right here. And then across the top, I might write, like if you're doing place value, maybe it is standard 2.5A or something like that. I'm going to write my standards across the top. And then if they have once they have mastered that standard, I can check it off. So this allows me to quickly see what students have mastered a specific skill and what students need to focus more on a specific skill. Then I have a different standards checklist where I might write down the standard that's being taught, and then I can use sticky notes, or I can write in the box students that need to be reached and students who have mastered. Then I also have a student data page where I am going to organize and keep track of who has mastered what. So for example, students that have mastered the concept and could teach others, I'm going to write their names down here. Students that have mastered the concept would go here. Students are at the beginning to understand a specific concept would go in the third box, and students who do not yet understand the concept could go in the fourth box. So this can allow me to track students and can help me when it comes to forming my small groups. Then I like to break down things a little further where I keep track of concepts that they understand, they don't understand, what are my next steps going to be, and I have a spot for additional notes. And this template, the boxes are a perfect size for a standardized sticky note so that you can use sticky notes to jot down multiple ideas without having to run off multiple sets of copies. Then the last sections in my binder are for my student groups. So this is where it correlates with my rotation board. So I have a section for my lions, for my tigers, gorillas, rhinos, pandas. And so then any notes or observations that I take about a student that is in the lion group, I'm going to put it in this section. Maybe my lesson plans for my lion group are going to go in this section. So anything that relates to student groups or to a particular student, I keep them in the section based on what group they are in at that particular time. And then at the very end, I include just some blank pieces of paper. I like these really fun pieces that are colorful and bright from Astro Brights, just so that I always have some note-taking paper on hand. So there you have it. This was a sneak peek in how I organize my guided math binder and what I keep inside. If you liked this video, I would love for you to give it a like below and even share it out for all your teacher friends who might need some small group organization in their lives as well. As always, if you have any questions, leave me a comment below And other than that, I'm going to let you go, and I will see you in the next video. Have a blessed one. Bye.